straight ahead on Law and Crime Daily.
As a community, as a sheriff, as a father, obviously we are grieving the loss of Miya.
How the media coverage of Gabby Petito now sheds light on lesser publicized cases. And right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones loses his court battle after saying the Sandy Hook school shooting was a, quote, giant hoax. Plus, a sexual assault probe into the coaches of the National Women's Soccer League, which top attorney will head the independent investigation. And later, evidence the jury won't be able to unsee. Experts detail the location of Mark Gooch's cell phone on the night of Sasha Krause's murder. Law and Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmeyer, along with Terry Austin. A terrible end to the search of Miya Marcano in Orlando, Florida. The sheriff there says her body was found over the weekend. Law and Crime's Anjanette Levy is here with more on the case.
Brian, the search for Miya Marcano spanned 3 different counties. The sheriff in Orange County, Florida, said that a maintenance worker who worked at her apartment complex where she also worked is believed to be responsible for her death.
Everyone wanted this outcome to be different.
Orange County Sheriff talking about the discovery of a body believed to be college student Miya Marcano, 17 miles from her home. She went missing on September 24th. Detectives said Armando Manuel Caballero, a maintenance worker at Marcano's apartment complex, was the primary suspect.
He had demonstrated a romantic interest in Miya. This was repeatedly rebuffed by Miya.
Sheriff John Mina said Caballero was found dead of an apparent suicide days later after detectives spoke with him.
We now know that a maintenance-issued master key fob, which Caballero was known to be in possession of, was used to enter Miya's apartment.
Marcano's disappearance came on the heels of Gabby Petito's disappearance, which garnered wall-to-wall media coverage and public interest. The level of interest raised questions about missing persons cases involving people of color not getting as much attention. Dr. Catherine Kuhlman is a psychologist.
When you look at Gabby Petito's case in particular, there's almost this feeling, we're very drawn to it because, as you watch the vlogs and all of the social media that she had posted, you almost kind of get to know her.
But Kuhlman said there could also be an issue of bias toward cases involving white women.
We tend to focus on cases where, as a society, we collectively believe that the person that is missing is, this young person, this ambitious person who had so much to offer the world. And that's an issue systemically in our society, right? That we, assign those values to the white people that are missing, and not necessarily to people of color.
The hope is that other cases will receive attention to bring the missing home. It was a plea Miya Marcano's family had made.
We will never sleep one night until we get you home. We miss you. We know that you're strong.
Now, Marcano's death has prompted questions down there in the Orlando area about maintenance workers having a master key to all of the apartments. An autopsy will be conducted to positively identify the remains that were found as Marcano's and also to determine her cause of death. Brian.
Thanks, Anjanette. Joining us today is criminal defense attorney Gigi Gonzalez and Terry Austin. Gigi, the death of Gabby Petito has brought light to missing persons, but also a reminder of how even we, the media, have reported missing people. What about this case do you think viewers should be focusing on when it comes to missing persons?
I think there's 2 key points that viewers should really be focusing on. The fact that it's so easy that anyone can become a victim of kidnapping or of murder. And you saw it here with Gabby Petito, where, she was kidnapped and potentially, murdered by her fiance, and in Marcano's case, where she was murdered by someone she worked with, and in other cases where the victim didn't know the person at all. And it's so important that we highlight each and every one of these cases so that we can begin to get answers on their whereabouts and what happened to them, like we saw here in Marcano and where we're beginning to see in Petito.
Exactly. Terry, with all deaths like this, there are questions of, was this preventable? And who else is to blame? How do you answer those questions in the death of Miya Marcano?
I think it could have been prevented, Brian. This person who was the primary suspect and who ultimately killed himself, He had a record. He was arrested in 2013. He destroyed property on another campus, and he said it was a prank. He had a bomb-like device, and it damaged the property. And so what this school should have done is a background check to make sure there was no criminal record. And it doesn't appear as though they either did one or they didn't reveal what his record was. So I think there is a claim here for negligent hiring, and I think we should have done a more thorough job of making sure those students were safe on their campus behind closed doors.
Absolutely. And Jeanette, how were investigators able to locate Miya Marcano's body about 20 miles away from her apartment?
Well, they actually used cell phone records, and they did that with the suspect's cell phone. They determined that he was in that area the night that she disappeared for at least 20 minutes, and they said that that led them to that area and to search it where they discovered the remains.
All right. Thank you all for your update in this case. We're also seeing renewed interest in the case of Lauren Cho, who vanished from her California Airbnb in June and hasn't been seen since. Cho, usually referred to as Elle, and her boyfriend, Corey Orrell, had moved from New Jersey to Bombay Beach last December. The 30-year-old, who worked as a chef, baker, singer, and tattoo artist, was last seen in June. Orrell said she left her Airbnb to walk into the hills between Yucca Valley and Morongo Valley. He described her as upset and talking about self-harm when she left. He also said she left behind her phone and didn't take along any food or water. Police conducted an aerial search almost a month after she was last seen. In late July, the Airbnb property was also searched. In September, interest in the case was renewed after the Gabby Petito case received national attention. Meanwhile, the search for Gabby Petito's fiancé, Brian Laundrie, takes a turn north of Florida, as reports out of the Carolinas claim he is hiding along the Appalachian Trail. Over the weekend, FBI and law enforcement officials received tips from witnesses, one who claimed he was face-to-face with Brian Laundrie, who asked for back road directions to California to meet with his girlfriend. Law&Crime obtained the 911 call the man made moments after the encounter.
What makes you say that it was him?
I wasn't sure about what he looked like, and then I went and parked and pulled up the photographs of him, and I'm 99.99% sure that was him.
This comes after weeks of law enforcement searching in Florida, where Laundrie is last known to be seen in early September. Reality TV star Dog the Bounty Hunter also claims to have found some of Laundrie's personal items near Dussito, Florida. Laundrie and his family went camping in that same area before his disappearance. Dog's representatives say they've handed their findings over to the FBI in hopes that DNA evidence can prove Laundrie was in the area. Still ahead on Law&Crime Daily, sexual abuse allegations in the National Women's Soccer League, how the organization is working to investigate these serious claims. But first, how InfoWars host Alex Jones lost big time after spreading misinformation about the Sandy Hook shooting. All this and more next.
Hi, this is Dan Abrams with exciting news for all of our Law&Crime followers on YouTube. You can now get the live Law&Crime network with YouTube TV for all of your daily live trial coverage, legal news, expert analysis, and original true crime programs. Subscribe to YouTube TV today and then locate Law&Crime in the channel guide. And for only $1.99 a month, you can add the network to your bundle. Watch Law&Crime every day with YouTube TV. We put you in the jury box.
Welcome back to Law&Crime Daily. InfoWars host and right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones loses 2 lawsuits after claims that the Sandy Hook shooting was a, quote, giant hoax. After not providing information for the lawsuits brought forth by 2 parents of the victims of the shooting, a judge ruled on Thursday that he was effectively lost the cases for not complying with court orders. Jones became infamous for his comments surrounding the mass shooting, falsely claiming that it was a hoax conducted by paid crisis actors who opposed the Second Amendment. In December 2012, a shooter entered Sandy Hook Elementary School and killed 26 people in a mass shooting. 20 of the victims were children. In 2019, Jones was ordered to pay $100,000 in court costs and legal fees to the parents of Sandy Hook victims for promoting inaccuracies about the shootings. In a trial scheduled for March 28th, a jury will decide how much Jones owes the plaintiffs in this latest case. Let's bring back criminal defense attorney Gigi Gonzalez and Terry Austin to crunch the numbers on how much Jones could owe. Terry, what kind of claims would the Sandy Hook family have against Alex Jones, and how are they proving they were harmed or damaged?
You know, I think there are two primary claims. One is defamation, and the other is intentional infliction of emotional distress, which I've talked about in the past. Both of them have to be intentional or knowing. And for defamation, you have to state something that is false, and you have to publish it, meaning you have to say it to a third party, and you have to demonstrate that there was harm. For emotional infliction of distress here, you have to show that you were distressed. And I think that the parents in both defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress, they can show that they've had emotional, that they've had mental harm, that they've gone to see a psychologist, and they have records and bills to pay for the damage that has been caused. Because making claims like this about your children who have been killed or friends or family could be extremely damaging as far as your mental psyche is concerned.
Absolutely. As you said, there's probably a lot of proof that they can provide to show that. Gigi, what's the dollar amount of those kind of damages? What numbers do you think the jury could be considering when determining how much Alex Jones could be on the hook for his comments?
I think we're talking millions. Alex Jones published to the world that these children who were murdered at Sandy Hook were actually crisis actors and that this mass shooting was a giant hoax. These parents were subjected to ridicule, threats, and gaslighting and more, all while mourning the death of their children. I think the jurors are going to be incredibly sympathetic to these parents here.
Absolutely, I would tend to agree there, especially considering who the victims are in this type of case. Thank you both. Jury selection is delayed by 1 day in the trial of Parkland shooter Nikolas Cruz, who allegedly attacked a jail guard in 2018. On Monday, a Florida judge denied the prosecution's request to delay the trial, but did agree to push off jury selection by 1 day. This comes as the defense's lead prosecutor suffered an extreme medical issue and is now recovering. The trial, originally slated to begin on October 11th, has also been pushed to October 18th. Cruz faces battery charges for a December 2018 incident where prosecutors say he attacked a jail guard. The trial is unrelated to the February 2018 shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where Cruz confessed to killing 14 students and 3 staff members. A date for that trial has not yet been scheduled. If convicted in this case, Cruz could face a 15-year sentence of attempted criminal battery. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, the latest in the Mennonite murder trial and further testimony against the accused U.S. Airman. Plus, the investigation into the sexual abuse allegations in the National Women's Soccer League, how the organization is calling for change in the safety of women's athletics. Welcome back. U.S. Soccer hires former acting Attorney General Sally Yates to lead a formal sexual abuse investigation probe involving male coaches. In the wake of the USA Gymnastics sexual abuse scandal, similar accusations are making waves within the National Women's Soccer League organization. On Thursday, claims against male coaches came to light, including North Carolina Courage coach Paul Riley, who has allegedly been sexually coercing players since 2010. Washington Spirit coach Richie Burke was also fired after the Washington Post reported that he verbally and emotionally abused his players. League Commissioner Lisa Bard resigned on Friday after the claims surfaced. Now, U.S. Soccer has hired Sally Yates to launch an independent investigation to look into the claims. Yates will be given full autonomy to all resources for her investigation. The statement followed a previous announcement that the NWSL enlisted law firm Covington & Burling to investigate the same claims. FIFA, soccer world's governing body, is also running its own investigation. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Gigi Gonzalez and co-host Terry Austin to discuss. Terry, with what we saw in the investigation into the USA women's gymnastics, what should we expect with this investigation?
You know, the USA Gymnastics took way too long. It was very slow. They did not believe or take it seriously. And I think we're going to see something just the opposite here with the soccer league. I think Sally Yates is a former U.S. attorney. She's a magna cum laude graduate from law school. She's worked at King and Spalding, which is a very reputable law firm in Atlanta. And I think she has an excellent reputation as a former prosecutor. And I think we will see she will investigate this case. She will take the claims very seriously, and she will do the job that wasn't done with the gymnastics.
Gigi, that's a big part of this. What does it say that the National Women's Soccer League is hiring Sally Yates to lead this investigation with quote unquote full autonomy?
I think that goes to show how serious they're taking this. I mean, you heard Terry highlight all of Sally Yates' accomplishments. This is a very accomplished lawyer who specializes in these types of investigations. So the fact that I don't think she would have done this investigation if not without full autonomy and complete access to all resources in order to get to the bottom of these allegations.
Absolutely. We'll see how that investigation continues. Again, looking at what happened with the USA Gymnastics, I agree with Terry. We're going to see a very full investigation and hopefully a speedy one as well when they get to the bottom of all of these allegations. Thank you both. When we come back, the location data specialist that took the stand in the Mennonite murder trial. How expert findings could be damning for the U.S. Airman accused of murdering a Mennonite Sunday school teacher. Welcome back. An update now on a case we've been following closely here at the Law&Crime Daily, as a jury recommends life in prison for Stanley Ford. Last month, Ford was found guilty of setting 2 deadly fires in his neighborhood. The case was handed over to the jury after 9 days of testimony from experts, investigators, former neighbors, and friends of the victims. Jurors deliberated for 14 hours over 3 days, in the end finding Ford guilty. 9 people were killed in the fires, including a family of 7, with kids all under the age of 15. Ford's charges included 22 counts of aggravated murder and aggravated arson. On Friday, a Summit County Common Pleas Court jury recommended that Ford get life in prison with no parole for the arson deaths. The jury also deliberated the possibility of the death penalty, but said that Ford's claims of mental health issues weighed in this decision. Formal sentencing is set for October 26th. It's evidence that may be difficult to overcome for the United States Airman Mark Gooch. On Friday, experts testified where Gooch's cell phone pinged the night that Sasha Krause was murdered. 22-year-old Gooch is charged with theft, kidnapping, and first-degree murder of Krause. He pled not guilty on all charges. Krause was last seen in January 2020. Her body was discovered in February 2020 near Flagstaff, Arizona. Prosecutors say Gooch drove from his Air Force base in Phoenix to Krause's Mennonite community in Farmington, New Mexico, where he abducted and later killed her. An autopsy determined Krause was killed by a gunshot wound to the head and blunt force trauma. Prosecutors say Gooch, who was raised in the Mennonite community, had disdain for the faith. The defense argues Gooch traveled to the Mennonite community to reconnect with the religion. On Friday, a location data specialist took the stand describing where and when Gooch's cell phone pinged the night of Krause's murder.
So 1:13 a.m., this is going to be the last time we're going to see this phone for a little while, but it's not going to leave this area. The pin over to the right is going to be where the victim's body will be recovered later. And at 1:13 a.m., this device is going to drop off the network. And we're not going to see it again. It's back in that area with no service. The next time we see that, over here, look at the road real quick. So this is still Loop Road, just so everybody's tracking, a paved road. And where the body will be recovered, technically there's 2 routes in there, just to the north and south of that location. So the last time we see it is 1:13, and the next time we're going to see that phone will be in the same vicinity as Sunset Crater, just to the west of it, on its way back to Highway 89. And that area right here, the first time we see it there, will be 03:33. So this is where we're going to get the 2-hour and 20-minute gap. So this device goes stagnant somewhere in this area in the vicinity to the east of Sunset Crater for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Gigi, how accurate and trustworthy is this cell phone location technology? And does this all but paint that Gooch and Krause were together the night of her murder?
You know, it's pretty reliable, but I think Dishman's testimony was very, very reliable here. he was able to walk jurors through a map of Gooch's whereabouts, and that's very compelling. And the fact that the defendant's cell phone pinged near the scene of the crime during the time of the crime in commission is very compelling. But on cross, he was not able to determine whether or not he was within the church or if he was in the forest at the time. So I don't know if the picture is fully painted here.
Now, Terry, was the testimony of tracking Gooch and Krause's phone, did that come out clearly, or do you think there were opportunities for the defense to raise doubts?
Well, there was no doubt in my mind. I thought it was extremely clear. As a matter of fact, when I listened to this expert, even when he was trying to tell the jury something that didn't relate specifically to Gooch and this crime, I wanted to listen to what he had to say. I wanted to learn how it was pinging off of one tower to the other and how the two phones were together. He made it very interesting. And based on what he said, it was clear in my mind that Gooch was definitely with Krause and that their phones were together and they traveled together. And there's no doubt in my mind that he was with her at the time of her death. So there might be some juries who wouldn't believe this, but I think the way he testified on the stand, the details that he gave, it was very credible.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, Terry. I know you've been watching this trial, and as we say, it's not just about what the person says on the stand, but how they say it in terms of getting credibility from the jurors. So it sounds like they got both. Terry, thank you very much, and as Gigi, thank you as well. And thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.